Hi everyone, welcome to TECSperts, where we here at the East Carolina talk about the upcoming football game.
Trailing East Carolina by 8. Frazier across the field, boom, what a big hit.
This is Tori Poole, one of the football beat writers for the East Carolinian.
Taking a shot up top. Coverage on. Touchdown, Pirates.
It's Adam Decker, the only returner from last year besides me, who is now gone from football beat writer to football editor.
Just watch here. He's trying to cradle it. That ball never hit the ground.
This is Jaron Honeycutt, our other football beat writer. Hi, welcome to TECSperts. Today we're going to talk about ECU football. Of course, we're going to talk about the loss last week at SMU. Guys, what did y'all see from the loss?
I feel like it's been the tail of the tape all season. I feel like you've asked that question the last 2 or 3 TECSperts and I've given you the exact same answer because nothing's really changing for this ECU football team. You know, it's just poor play. I think that's what you got to say at this point. You know, it's certain times they look like, oh, wow, that was a good drive. They're going to get it going. And then, you know, they falter down the stretch. It really looks like in the second half they're just winded or they struggle in the second half. They always seem to get blown out there in the second half. So I don't know if it's a personnel issue with Scotty Moe. He doesn't have his players, or I don't know what's going on, but things definitely aren't clicking for ECU right now.
Yeah, I saw once again a defense that I, at the beginning of the year was so highly, for. Now once again letting me down because that SMU offense, they have good players. They have that Cortland Sutton was a great receiver and he had a great day, but there was no excuse for their running game exploding on ECU like that, and just once again they end up letting you down on defense. It's just like we expect offense to go out and do good between the 20s and then fail in the red zone. We expect that now.
Yeah.
But the defense, it's like that they have good players on it, but they continue to disappoint or give up a big play and a big moment as well now. So it's same old thing like Adam was saying. Just over it, but
yeah.
You got to move on to next week.
Nothing new really to add to the recipe. So
that's really it.
So, of course, we normally don't talk about predictions, but we already know Tori's. Tori has gone bold. She's saying ECU now. For every single episode, we said that the Navy game was going to be the one that they were just going to get crushed in. They had no chance in. So why have you picked ECU?
I think I don't know. I've seen something between practice, talking to the players. I don't know why. I'm probably completely this was a stupid choice, but I have a gut feeling that these seniors, these guys Zay Jones, that have had a good season individually and a good time here at ECU as far as statistics wise. I feel like they're kind of this is our last chance to perform in front of our fans and at Daddy Ficklin Stadium. I don't know. I think it's just going to be one of those games where the team is all kind of behind them. They're there's nothing left to lose. Put it all on the table, and I don't know. That's really all there is to it.
There are 2 things I would say that should give people optimism that ECU could potentially pull the upset. One would be that the last couple times ECU's gotten blown out by Navy, Ruffin McNeil's been the coach.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got a new football coach in Scotty Montgomery, ECU does, and new defensive coordinator in Kenwick Thompson. So we have yet to see, how Kenwick Thompson, how Scotty Moe, how they're going to prepare for this triple option. So that is one thing of optimism, I would say, where we don't know how they're going to perform.
Yeah.
So that could give you some optimism. Another thing is, too, Navy with their restrictions in the military and everything, normally they tend to be smaller than the bigger schools that they face, which is why it's surprising they beat Notre Dame, they beat Houston, because with those military things, their linemen aren't as big, their offensive and defensive linemen.
They lifted
that's why they
off
beat
Navy.
That's what they did.
Now
I was
Army.
gonna say that's
Army
why they
still
used to
plays
beat
with
them
that.
with quickness.
Right.
now.
That's how Navy and Army that series has totally shifted Navy's way because Navy has lifted the restrictions off of all their weight limits, all that.
Well, they haven't changed their pace of play at all. It used to be they were smaller, so they'll beat you with the
Right.
triple option, speed, and everything. But
Yeah, no, like Adam said on his first point, he's completely right. It's going to be interesting to see how Kenwick Thompson handles the triple option. I feel like that's a big reason why Scotty Montgomery brought him in because, when you're at ECU, you look on the schedule and you see Navy, you see that power option offense. They put up 76 on Ruff before. That's a deadly offense, and so you got to be ready to handle them. And really, it's not that tough to handle it, but it does come with it. You do need players that know what they're doing and smart and have good heads on their shoulders on the field. So Kenwick Thompson's going to be under the microscope this week big time, and it'll be interesting.
Right. Of course, with the triple option, you have to be very disciplined at stopping the run. ECU is 93rd in the run. Navy, this is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So, also, I read Jaron wrote that there was a Coach Montgomery has a special package of players or whatever. So, talk about that special package that he said that he has for Navy.
Well, you have to wonder how far a coach, goes when he tells you stuff, because as much of a package that he could have, he was talking about mainly to mimic Navy. So, you wonder who on their team is equal to what Navy's throwing at you, really. And you can play decoy all week, but at the end of the day, there's never going to be anything like the real thing. And what ECU will be looking to do is find a lot of strength behind Dimitri McGill. A 3-4 defense is very good for stopping the triple options, because you have your guys on the outside that are spread out a little more, and your corners are going to learn to come up. But Dimitri McGill will kind of be isolated in the middle for that fullback handoff or the quarterback sneak. So it's just, that package will get them many looks and let them be ready. They're just all they're gonna do is just keep repeating what they see on film. Their quarterback Will Worth has only thrown, right under 1,200 yards. That's not throwing a lot. 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They'll only, like I was saying also in that article, they'll only throw the ball when they've lured the defense to sleep. And they'll try to cut you too pretty bad. So what they're doing with that team is just mimicking it and giving as many looks as possible as they see, and just basically sculpting it in their head so they will not forget it.
All right, so now we have, of course, we're going to talk about ECU's offense versus Navy's defense. What do y'all think ECU can do against Navy as far as offensive-wise?
I would think, the offenses look, at times in virtually every game, the offenses looked pretty good. They've played well. They've been able to move the ball, but in the beginning of the year, you had the red zone turnovers and things like that. And towards the end of the year, these past couple games, it hasn't been so much the red zone turnovers, but still, getting down there, maybe a crucial penalty moves them out of Davis Plowman field goal range, or just things like that. So ECU's offense at times, every game you're like, oh wow, great pass, or what a run, or they look like they're clicking, but it's just something always goes wrong for them. So I would like to think that ECU's offense is going to come out here, because playing Navy, I don't have very much faith ECU's defense is going to stop Navy's offense. So Navy's going to put up a lot of points. So if ECU's going to have a chance in this game, it's going to be ECU, having to move the ball through the air, I would say, because the rushing attack's been a little stagnant, but it's going to have to be ECU putting up big numbers. So that's really what I'm expecting. They're going to have to come out and be ready to put up 40, 50 points on the board, I would think.
Zay Jones, I was saying last week with Cortland Sutton how ECU's DBs look like they're giving him the Zay Jones treatment, because they knew how good he is. Like, everyone knows how good Zay Jones is, but no one, I don't know what's going on, but everybody decides to play soft man with this guy like he's not the best receiver in the nation right now, which, debatably, he is. And, I feel like Navy is a one unit that will not play like that, because they're so disciplined. They're not great in run defense. They're not great in rush defense. But what they are great at is being disciplined. And that's the biggest thing for defense, because as much as we see ECU mess up, every time ECU messes up against Navy, that will eventually hurt them later in the game. And like Zay Jones says about that secondary, they're really disciplined, and they have veterans on it, and they stay home and they won't bite on anything. So it's gonna, once again, it'll come down to that rushing attack to see if they can open up things, and it'll see if they once they get inside the 20s, if they have jello on their feet, or if they can get it off and get in the end zone for once.
It's just crazy to me, because I just feel like everything that we're discussing is just a recipe for disaster for ECU. So Navy, arguably the most disciplined team in the nation, being in the military, everything, they're not gonna commit stupid penalties. crucial turnovers, things like that. And you got ECU, who's just the polar opposite. And then you have the ECU rush defense versus their rushing attack. It just seems like everything in this matchup is geared towards Navy, and I wouldn't be surprised if Navy just absolutely runs away with it. I think a lot of us are expecting that.
ECU has to play perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And, what did they have? 2-3 games ago, they had 23 penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Navy's might have 2 or 3, not 23, 2 or 3 penalties in the entire game. So you just have to look at that right there. Like, there's a 0% chance ECU's going to win if Navy has a few penalties and ECU has 20. There's just 0% chance. So it's going to come down to discipline, which ECU hasn't looked very disciplined this year. It's just everything just seems to be pointing in Navy's direction.
I mean, it's just going to be like basically the same thing we've kind of been saying all season long. Like, if you take away Navy completely, don't even think about what they have in their back pocket. You have to think about everything that ECU has to do right.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have stupid penalties, you can't have turnovers. You've got to start turning these massive yardage in a game into points. Like, you see all these games where it was like, they might have been up in yardage at the end, like total yardage. But at the same time, it's like they got beat by like 20 points, and it's like, has that even happened in a game like this?
Right. So of course, good teams are disciplined, and so do you think it's a discipline problem, or do you think that it's just a matter of not having the talent and sometimes not understanding the system and everything like that?
I know we've been preaching all year. Coming in with a new coach, you're always learning stuff, and he's implementing things. And there is, I believe, a big factor in Ruff leaving was his recruiting, and that it wasn't very stable, they felt. And so I feel like to an extent, the missed tackles and the missed plays, you look at it, and a lot of that's on the players. And then there are times where you're like, this shouldn't happen, this should be coached up. So it really it's tough, because if there's a mental divide in that locker room, then automatically there's no discipline. I mean, because it takes a whole 11 on the field to show that a team has discipline. All you need is one guy to go off sides and one guy to be against the coach's mentality or the coach's personnel or scheming or whatever, and that's all it takes is for your team to for your team to look bad. So it's just it really depends. That's one thing we'll have to wait and see with Montgomery too, is how his discipline picks up from this year to next year. Because at the beginning of the year, if you guys don't remember, ECU, I think through about the 5th or 6th game, was one of the least penalized teams in the nation. They picked that up mid-season. So it's almost like a trend to where, they had all this momentum through game 2, but then once you hit that, 3-game losing streak after 2-3 games, your team starts, hey, what's going on right now, have a little mental lapse, and so they start falling off. So that's what's going to be interesting to see is if it really is, the coaches that have influenced on the discipline, or if it's the senior class that's going out and the upperclassmen that were on the Ruff and McNeil train. It's going to be something to watch.
That's something I think that no one really around here has really talked about. Is I don't know if you guys remember when Ruff and McNeil was fired, just the outrage that came about. Jeff Comfort, a lot of people were extremely furious at him. You had players tweeting they were going to transfer. It just seemed really bad. And Scotty Moe comes in, maybe gets a couple or all of them to buy in. They start out hot, the team's looking good, and then they hit this little losing streak, the losing skid. They're sitting at 3-7 right now, or 3-6 right now, and maybe the locker room's like that. Maybe that's why we're seeing these disciplinary issues, is because the locker room's giving out. You took away our coach, the coach that recruited us. We have a new coach now. We're not experiencing success right now, so maybe that does have a lot to do with it.
And this is one thing I'll add, and about Coach Montgomery and where the mindset of the players are. I haven't seen as much as I have seen this past weekend of ECU of seniors actually, and this might contradict a little bit what I said before about a few people being against the coach, unless I just interviewed everyone that loved him. But the seniors were really intent on giving back and making sure that they were working hard for the class below them, where usually you hear the lower classmen, the freshmen, sophomore, even the juniors saying these last games are for the seniors. Mm-hmm. But the seniors really were intent on saying we're ready to better the program for the years to come. We want to teach these guys the ins and outs of what it's like to be in here. So, I mean, Zay Jones said that, James Summers said that, JT Boyd said that, and those are 3 big leaders on the team. And so, maybe the people who would be against Montgomery aren't in the spotlight like they are. So, I mean, there could be jealousy reigning, but, it's not likely you see seniors that are about to leave not focused on their final game, which they are focused, but, I mean, not individually on themselves and more focused on bettering the people under them and a program they're about to leave for the years coming. So that I think that speaks a little bit about what Montgomery has, kind of, put in these players' head. I think it'll be good to see.
Another thing too is I just think this is undoubtedly a transition year, and maybe that's something. Zay Jones. You look at Zay Jones and J.T. Boyd; they were both a part of that. Mm-hmm. Shane Carden, Justin Hardy, 18th ranked team. So they saw some success in their careers. So maybe they're realizing now, okay, new coach, transition, and they're being selfless, unselfish in doing that. So it's good to see that, and it's promising for years to come.
Zay Jones being all about ECU, that's just Zay Jones.
Yeah, it is.
That's just who he is.
He was talking this week about how someone asked him, because he's from Texas, saying,
right.
You didn't get any offers from schools in Texas. Was that kind of something that fueled your fire being here and being able to break these records? And he said, without a doubt, that, they didn't want him, so he wanted to do everything he could to, do something good for this program since they brought him in and treated him like a, family. And so he wanted to do everything he could to make this organization look good. He had nothing to say about personally what it looked like for him to be breaking these records. It was all about what it looked like for ECU and recruiting-wise and everything like that.
Yeah, I saw earlier this week where it said Zay Jones and Justin Hardy, I think it was Igo that said it, both, right now it's going to flip-flop more than likely are the number 1 and number 2 leading FBS reception reception leaders, and each of them coming out of high school had 3 scholarship offers total and 0 from their home states. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's something that people could look at and be like, okay, these big schools that aren't recruiting me or no one's recruiting me, I'm a walk-on, it gives them a little hope. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Right, and of course with Zay Jones, he needs 8 catches this week to go ahead, right? Or is it tie? 8 to tie?
8 to go ahead.
8 to go ahead. So 8 to go ahead. Y'all think he gets it this game?
I'll bet everything I have he gets it.
Yeah, me too.
Everything I have.
In the first half, I think.
I think that the team is going to be behind him and getting it for him. I think they want him to have it at home more than anything else.
It's his last home game of his career.
Hardy's there.
Yeah, Justin Hardy's going to be there because they played in the Thursday night game.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just also thinking, Zay Jones, has he gone a half without 8 catches? He's had 2 games of 20 catches. 8 catches is nothing to that man this year.
Exactly.
So 8 catches is
Mm-hmm.
And if, which Montgomery said that Nelson wasn't dressing out, which Nelson dressed out. So, when he said that, Nelson was behind him dressed out, which was funny. But if Nelson doesn't play and Minshew plays, let's not forget how much Gardner Minshew loves to target Zay Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a guy that when Nelson was playing last week in the first half up until the last, I think it was right under a minute 20, Zay Jones had 1 catch. From a minute 20 to the end of the first half, Zay Jones had 5 catches and a touchdown under Gardner Minshew. So that, I mean, like every quarterback that Zay Jones had, that's Gardner Minshew's safety net. And he's a bigger safety net for Gardner Minshew than a lot of them.
Got to think about it, man. Zay Jones has caught all these passes in these past 2 years between 4 or 5 different quarterbacks.
Yep.
Right.
And
you also got to think, last year ECU struggled throwing the ball through the air. Really, you had when Summers would play the majority of the snaps. It was a running offense. They didn't really throw the ball that often. And then Blake Kemp, he had his shining moments, but he really didn't find that much success. What if Zay Jones would have had a throwing quarterback last year? He would have annihilated this record.
And
oh
his
my
injuries.
God!
Let's not forget about
injuries.
Yeah.
So last year he was banged up. He was banged up the year before that. Just what could have been. I know we can't be talking about that, but wow, he's a beast.
and then
Go ahead.
one thing, season record. How close is he to the season catch record? Do y'all know?
I have
I'm
no
not
clue
sure.
what that is. He's got to be pretty
I
close.
think he's pretty close to it, though. I think he's very close to it.
I know he's so good, and Scotty Montgomery's been around a lot of good players, but he was saying in his presser that, he's seen teams, scouts come in and get players all the time. When he played that, it happened to him, but he very rarely has he seen general managers themselves come in and ask about players. I think Zay Jones, and he said all it takes is Zay Jones to be, injury-free, and he could be a very dominant player in the NFL. I mean, let's get this receptions record first, but I mean we're possibly talking about a guy who could, have a long, great career in the NFL.
He's got the makings of a
NFL pedigree.
five-tool receiver. He's
NFL
got the height, the
pedigree,
speed,
all
the
that.
hands. He's got everything. So we'll see.
All right, let's get to predictions now. Adam, we're going to start with you. Of course, the champion from last week, I believe, right?
Nah, we all lost.
Oh,
We
yeah,
all
technically
lost. My
you lost,
record
yeah.
took a hit.
I won in my heart.
I'm taking Navy 45-24. I really don't think there needs to be explanation behind this. I think anyone with a half a brain is taking Navy. Tory over there, but no, it's just like I said earlier, it's a recipe for disaster. ECU has not played them well recently. Navy comes out with this triple option offense, and there's been all this talk. ECU's replicating it in practice. Okay, well, Navy's been running it for years now, and ECU's been running it for 4 days, so it's just not going to turn out well for ECU.
Of course, the Navy is 4-1 against ECU all
so.
time. So, Jaron?
Well, look, hey, he's right. Replicating the practice isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Because Navy recruits, 3 and 4 star athletes that are made to do that.
Yeah.
But Zay Jones is going to get that catch record in the first quarter. And the first quarter.
Hey.
The first quarter.
Second.
And here's what happens. The Pirates are going to go up 14-0, and it's going to be a long day for Navy in the first half. And then ECU's going to lose 42-14. So that's my prediction.
All right, Tori, of course. Let's get the score.
You see, I could pull a Jaren a few weeks ago and change it to Navy, but my gut is still telling me that I just need to go with this one, and I'm probably completely wrong, but it's okay. So I'm gonna take ECU 34-27.
All right, that was TECSperts for this week. Thank you for watching. Watch us again next week.